when I came out of the mist of having children, I kind of had this little freak out about the environment and the planet and where we're going with everything. And I was deeply concerned that maybe I shouldn't have even had the children, because I wasn't taking into consideration the lives that they are going to have to live. And I felt a deep sense of responsibility for that. There's something which is called the campsite rule, which is that you go, when you go camping and you set up your tent and you stay there for 3 days, and then when you leave, you take everything with you. You leave it in as good a situation as it was when you arrived, or better. And if you attempt to apply that rule to any human being when they leave planet Earth, where are we with that? So few people are able to say that they leave the planet the way that it was. We just have such a massive impact. And this is a really long way of saying, in 15, 20, 25 years' time, when my kids look me in the eye and say, well, what did you do? You knew that this was not good. What did you do? And I want to be able to say to them, I want to look them in the eye and say, I've done everything I could. And so I kind of looked at my skill set and looked at the things that interest me, because I think you've got to have passion to have tenacity. I don't think that you can arrive at something to do, but if it's not something you are deeply committed to because you're not passionate about it, you won't have the drive to see it through. I have this thing for homewares and the thing is that everyone needs them. You can't kind of go through life without a cup, or without bed linen, or without spoons, or they're things that ultimately people are going to want at some point. And so I feel that it's okay to be creating things like that. I think that it's important to create beautiful things and things with stories, because people are more likely to hold on to those things for longer, and I think they're more likely to fix them if they break as well, and they're more likely to be mindful about them while they use them. And also with a bit of a background in food and an interest in food, for me the idea of locavore eating was a really pertinent one, because this whole idea that you bring everything back down to 100 miles and all of a sudden everything becomes accountable. You don't dump pesticides in your 100-mile zone because you're the one that's going to be eating the food So there's this whole thing about accountability and transparency that happens when you bring everything back down to 100-mile sourcing. And so I thought, well, if I combine the two, then I will feel that I will have passion for it, but B, I will feel that it is something that is worthwhile, and it fits with it fits with my skill set. I think the classic is with the locavore movement. If you attempt to only eat from within 100 miles, it's extremely difficult. You just have to drop a whole lot of things out of your diet. Here in the Barossa, it's something that I could do more easily than a lot of other people could. We try and do it. We try and do it as much as we can, particularly with anything fresh. We eat seasonally, and I've got a girlfriend with a cow, and on Sundays she brings us milk and we give her wine, and and I make cheese from her milk, and so we do it when we can. Clemens, to live here, died. There was 2 brothers, they didn't marry, and they both ended up dying on the property. One died up the hill, and one died doing his boots up on the back veranda. And the really cool thing that I've only discovered since starting the 100-mile home and the Ottie is that historically the Clemens were woodworkers. And so for me, because I had kind of like a mini apprenticeship with this wonderful, wonderful man called Peter Hart. And then I discovered that the property was one of this family-run, woodworking properties, generations ago. And then when we started up with ceramics, and so the clay that we use comes from Northern Adelaide. The thing with the 100-mile home is obviously you kind of got to find the materials first, and once you've got the materials then you can work out from there. It's just about working out what you're going to do with them. But I also discovered that on our road, so just down the road, is where Potter Hoffman used to live, and with his ceramic studio and his kilns, and Potter Hoffman and the Kleemans used to exchange woodworking for ceramics, and I'm embedded in woodworking and ceramics now. It was this beautiful kind of full circle to think that we're kind of doing that again and using local materials to do it. So, yeah. My grandmother passed away, and as part of everything closing up, my uncle wanted to clear out the land. This huge cedar tree was going to go, and it was we almost had like this ceremony saying goodbye to this cedar tree, because it was so big and it was so beautiful. Once you start almost like having mindfulness about the life of a tree, then it becomes a very sad thing to chop it down. But Pete did it in this really beautiful, respectful way. And then we took it that next step, which is that we collected all the cedar, and so I'm using some of the really small branches here. The big stuff is it's still got years worth of seasoning ahead of it. It's it could take 5-10 years to season some of the big stuff. But yeah, so the cedar's from my grandmother's in Newry, and the hazelnut is from the Adelaide Hills, from the Henschke property in the Adelaide Hills. I went backpacking around Europe, 10 years ago or something, and everywhere I went, I was like, Ross is better than this. Ross is better than this. The only place that came close was Florence. I had a very good tomato in Florence.